Good morning, this is Jaya Kumari, Assistant Professor of English. Today we are going to see translation theory and practice, which has been assigned for second MA English students in their third semester. From Unit 1, I have already covered 3 videos. So this is the 4th video in which I am going to cover transfer, transcreation, transliteration and paraphrase. These are the topics which are very much related to translation but not similar to translation. So we are going to see these topics today. Transfer include, apart from translations, in a narrower sense, transformations of texts and other media produced with the functionalist objective, that is, with the intention of obtaining a target text or medium that fulfills specific functions for its audience in the target culture, rather than the criterion of invariance in relation to the source material. The results of transfer also include target text or media whose functions differ from those of their source material. So it is very clear in this that transfer is done with a purpose for its audience. Translation can be done on any basis, whereas transfer is done for its audience. Transfer, in which a variance requirement leads a hierarchy of target text requirements, have frequently been termed adaptations or versions. To what extent the concepts of translation and transfer overlap, however, depends on the paradigm of translation theory from which one starts. Over the last 60 years, the scope of translation studies has expanded continually, bringing the concept of translation closer to the more encompassing concept of transfer. So, when the translations from source material to target text happens, the target texts are later known as adaptations or versions. They don't give much importance to source material, source text. Those target texts become very important and they are called by adaptations or versions. Then comes transliteration. So what is transliteration? It is a process of transferring a word from the alphabet of one language to another. So it's very clear. So it's a transformation of a word from the alphabet of one language to another language. Then transliteration helps people pronounce a word and names in foreign languages. So translation helps the peoples also in the pronunciation from language to language. Then comes translation. So, unlike a translation which tells you the meaning of a word that's written in another language, a transliteration only gives you an idea of how the word is pronounced by putting it in a familiar alphabet. It changes the letters from the word's original alphabet to similar sounding letters in a different one. So it's very clear that translation only helps to translate the meaning of the word, whereas translators helps you to pronounce the word appropriately when it is in a source text and when it is changes to the target text. So according to that, the pronunciation has to be maintained. Transliteration is not primarily concerned with representing the sounds of the original, but rather with representing the characters, ideally, accurately and unambiguously. Transliteration, instead of giving much importance to sounds, it gives the importance to the characters, which should be pronounced accurately as well as unambiguously. There should not be any doubts in identifying the character. So, systematic transliteration is a mapping from one system of writing into another, typically grapheme to grapheme. It means while doing transliteration, a letter or word, when it pronounced, is called as phoneme. When we convert that sound to write, it is called as grapheme. So they give importance on that. Most transliteration systems are one-to-one, so a reader who knows the system can reconstruct the original spelling. So obviously, when a person is very well aware of the phoneme, when the phoneme is translated to transliterated to grapheme, so he can change from phoneme to grapheme and grapheme to phoneme, vice versa. So that much knowledge he will have when he converts the phoneme to grapheme. So moving on to next topic, that is transcreation. So what is transcreation? Transcreation is a concept used in the field of translation studies to describe the process of adapting a message from one language to another while maintaining its intent, style, tone and context. So it's very clear, while translating, the real intent, style, tone and context of the source text should not be get changed. So they give most importance for this while translating the source text to target text. Moving further, a successfully transcribed message evokes the same emotion and carries the same implications in the target language as it does in the source language. Obviously, when the translator goes through the target text, he should have the same feel which was in the source text. If he doesn't feel the same effect on the target text, so it means there is some changes. So there is no that transcription is not done properly. That would be considered like that. Moving further, it is related to the concept of localization, which similarly involves comprehensively adapting a translated text for the target audience. Transcreation highlights the translator's creative role. Unlike many other forms of translation, transcreation also often involves adapting not only words but video and images to the target audience. So it is very clearly given. So translation is simply translation from source text to target text, whereas transcreation is about that. You are going to translate the source text to target text, but along with the translation, you are going to add your own creation over there. So the creation, it could be like adding videos or images to the source text. So when it get converted to target text, it will give good effect on the readers, mainly on the target text readers. So that is a main work of this transcreation. Next, transcreation theory was first developed in the field of literary translation and began to be adapted for use global marketing and advertising in the early 21st century. The transcreation approach is also heavily used today in the translation of video games and mobile apps. So it is very well given clearly that transcreation theory was first developed in the field of literary translation. Literary, obviously, the text translation, and it began to adapt all over the world. So it was started on a particular place, but it spread all over the world. Now, this transcreation is not at all limited to the literary translation. It has been adapted in the media field also, like video games and mobile games. So it has been accepted that along with translation, extra things like images and video should be added. It will give more good effect on the audience. So it has been accepted and spreading all over the world. The concept of Transcreation emphasizes the translator's independent creative role. In the context of marketing, the professional translators engaging in transcreation are often referred to as copywriters or copy editors, or alternatively as transcreators. So, in the marketing field, when a person does the job of transcreation, he has been given names like copywriters, copy editors, or transcreators, because they are putting their own extra effort to give the best of the source text to target text. So that's why these people are known as by the names of copywriters, copy editors, or transcreators. So, moving further on the transcreation, this concept of transcreation was first developed by translators in India and Brazil in the mid-20th century. In 1964, the Indian scholar Purushottam Lal wrote regarding contemporary translation of the Sanskrit classics that the translator must edit, reconcile, and transmute. His job in many ways becomes largely a matter of transcreation. In Brazilian context, the term is associated with the work of Geraldo de Campos, who compared transcreation to the giving of a blood transfusion. So in India, in Brazil, it was started in the 20th century. In 1964, Purushottam Lal, while translating the Sanskrit classics, he used his extra creativeness in the work. So from that way, in India it was started, whereas in Brazil, it was the same transcreation was applied in a biological way, not in a literary way, it's in a biological way. So in various fields, this word transcreation was used invariably. So usage of transcreation changed further. So in China it was used in a different manner. The term is also recognized in China. In 2010, the Chinese design and advertising publication Modern Advertising Magazine discussed the term in an article for the first time. So these people, Chinese people, use this word transcreation they discuss about this word transcreation in the publication in an article in the magazine called Modern Advertising Magazine in 2010. So finally, moving to the last topic, it is paraphrase. A paraphrase is a restatement of the meaning of a text or passage using other words. The term itself is derived via Latin paraphrasis from Greek, meaning additional manner of expression. In the past, paraphrasing and translation were considered to be unconnected language processing tasks. So paraphrase, normally literature people do paraphrase in the poetry and in the novel way. So paraphrasing is nothing but it's an additional manner of expression. So you are not going to translate what it is in the source text. So you are going to put some of your own extra knowledge in it. In a very expressive manner, you will explain the source text to target text. So that is what is paraphrase. Moving further, things have changed, and now we can consider paraphrasing a translation technique due to its utility in improving the structure and the message of the text. So earlier, translation and paraphrase was not considered similar. They were not ready to accept that both are similar and doing the same job. Whereas now it has been accepted that paraphrasing is nothing but a translation. But in paraphrasing, some extra thing has been put to give the best version of the source text. So it has been accepted that both are one and the same and more than translation. If we compare translation and paraphrasing, we observe that the first one represents the preservation of meaning. Obviously, in translation, we are trying the level best to preserve what the source text has got in the target text. We don't want to miss anything from the source text. So we are exactly preserving in the translation. Whereas in paraphrase, Uh, The later is the preservation of meaning. When an idea is expressed using different words in the same language, it is obvious that two processes are related. So, in paraphrase, more than preserving the source text, some other same thing has been put on other words have been used to preserve it in a better way. So some or the other way, the both are doing the same job. Moving next. First of all, it can give positive effects on the style of the written piece. Secondly, it can avoid repetition of certain words and structures. That is often problematic, and it can also help shorten the text when the space requires doing so. So, paraphrasing is very good in either way actually, because it can be used in a positive way, like giving your own style to the source text, and you are going to make it very preservative manner. Other than that, you can, while doing paraphrasing, at times avoiding repetition of certain things, we can looking at the space available, we can shorten it also. So there will be very exaggerated way and all. It will be very short and crispy and very worthy kind of thing. Next, a paraphrase usually gives an explanation or a clarification of the text that is being paraphrased. It can be useful technique for the reader as well as it helps in easily understand the meaning of a certain phrase. So paraphrase, as the word tells, it works accordingly. When certain things need explanation, it gives a detailed explanation. When certain things doesn't need that much of explanation, it will make it shorten and sweet one. So according to the situation, the paraphrase helps the readers without wasting much of his time on a certain things. Next one. Depending on the translator's choice, a paraphrase can make the text sound more natural, more ambiguous, and more formal. It is a matter of imposed style in this case. An example of paraphrasing is, the signal was red. The explanation for this phrase, the train was not allowed to pass because the signal was red. So depending on the translator's choice, the paraphrase can make the text sound more natural. Natural means very understandable. It will make everything very clear to the audience or readers. So at the same time, it will be very formal and ambiguous. So it will be very understandable to the readers by the clarity of the translator. So hope you will like this video on these topics: translation, transcreation, and paraphrase. Thank you all.